Hello everyone, this is Arespi and welcome back to another survival game Devlog update. For those that haven't been following the previous videos, I am developing a game that is temporarily called Parasite's Island. The main concept of the game is that you are playing as a parasite that takes humans as hosts, wherein if your host dies, you die as well, and transferring to another host kills your previous one. In this game, your host has washed up into an isolated island inhabited only by a few humans. Your task is to keep the human population on the island enough to secure potential hosts from the next generations of inhabitants. You need to survive for as many generations as possible by preventing any harm to the inhabitants and making sure that their needs are provided. The last devlog is more than a week ago. This is because the last devlog came out late that I didn't have enough updates to make a video for last week. I did not want to create a 2 to 3 minute video just to showcase a few days worth of changes. Not to mention that I only work on one thing in those days. So I decided not to make a devlog last week and instead include those developments to this week's devlog. In the last devlog, I talked about implementing a respect system for ordering inhabitants around. That feature would not be implemented this week unfortunately because I have something else to work on first, and that is to change the grid system and the pathfinding. My implementation of those is messy. This frustrates me because it is hard to maintain and it causes a little bit of lag to the game. So, I decided to scrap my implementation and find a better one. The one I found is the A-Star Pathfinding project. It is a lightning fast pathfinding for Unity as described in their website. I spent a few days learning how to use it and adjusting it to my needs, and finally, it is running. The next thing I worked on is a new way of infecting inhabitants, because as I described in the previous devlog, the player could order other inhabitants to do a specific job. I think that feature would require a different way of interacting with them. What I am thinking is that there is a menu that would pop up when the player clicked on a particular inhabitant. To implement that, I needed to work on the ability for the player to select inhabitants. Basically, I did this by invoking a Unity event whenever the player pressed on an inhabitant. The event would contain information about who the player pressed. There would be a script connected to the camera that would listen to this event. And whenever it hears one, it would follow the inhabitant that is pressed by the player until the player moves the infected inhabitant. This provides the ability for the player to select an inhabitant. The next thing to work on with this new mechanic is how we would store these actions that the player could perform on the inhabitant. For our goal, we only have one action, and that is to infect. But this would not be the only action that we could do. As I said in the previous devlog, we could order inhabitants around. That could be another action. Another would be giving an item to an inhabitant, or maybe killing them. So we would like to have the ability to extend this and not hardcode these actions. So I created an action object. This object contains the name, what makes the action doable to a particular inhabitant, and what the action could do when it is performed. In order to add more actions, I would now just create instances of this object. Now that we have the action, we needed to show it to the player. So I created a panel on the top right of the screen with buttons corresponding to each action that are doable to the inhabitant. The criteria in this case for the infect action is that the entity should be an inhabitant and is not currently infected. That is why selecting the infected inhabitant doesn't show the infect action. After implementing the graphical user interface, we needed to perform the action when the button is pressed. In the case of the infect action, the infected would walk towards the selected inhabitant, and when they are near to each other, the infection would happen. And with all those done, the new infection mechanics is finished. The only thing left to do is re-implement features that are in the game before I change the grid system and the pathfinding implementation. One of which is the family generation. When I am implementing this, I decided to change the family structure in the game. In the previous family structure, it consists of 3 types of family members: the father, the mother, and the children. I changed this to only have 2 types: the parents and the children. Aside from that, change everything is almost the same with the previous implementation. The surnames of the family are randomly selected from a text file, and the name of each inhabitant is selected from a single text file of common unisex names, wherein previously it is from two text files of common male and female names. The clock is also re-implemented into the game. Even if we would not be using the schedule-based implementation of the inhabitant movement, it would still be useful in other features, such as inhabitant growth, day-night cycle, and many others. The clock stores year, month, day, and hour. The hour would increment based on a variable that I could easily adjust whenever I want to change the number of real-time seconds per in-game hours. I then added the graphical user interface on the top left portion of the screen. The full name of the inhabitant that is currently infected is displayed on the top. The type of family member the inhabitant is displayed on the second row. And finally, the year, month, day, and hour is displayed on the last row. That is all that I have done for the past 2 weeks. For the next week, I am planning to finally start implementing the inhabitant movement. I also wanted to beautify the game through sprites and tile map. That would be few of the things that I wanted to implement for the next few weeks. So I hope you liked this video. If you do, you might want to follow the development of the game outside this devlog series. You could follow it on the game's Game Jolt page or on Twitter at Arespi Games. I usually post daily updates on those platforms. Links to both platforms would be on the description. That is all for this week. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Take care.